The Declaration of Arbroath is a 14th century document which was addressed to Pope John the 22nd and bears the seals of 51 Scottish magnates and nobles. The document, which is generally thought to have been written by Bernard of Kilwinning, the Chancellor of Scotland and Abbot of Arbroath in 1320, was created as part of a wider diplomatic campaign, which included the creation of similar documents which were sent to the Pope by Robert the Bruce himself. The campaign was created in response to Pope John's recognition of Edward I of England's claim to the overlordship of Scotland in 1305, as well as Robert the Bruce's excommunication by the Church. The declaration sought to assert Scotland's position as an independent, sovereign kingdom, as opposed to becoming feudal land controlled by England's Norman king. It also sought to lift the excommunication of Robert the Bruce, as well as defending Scotland's right to use military force in retaliation to unjust attacks. The second paragraph of the declaration states that the Scots were recorded as a nation of renown amongst ancient documents and historical chronicles, and traces the origins of the Scots to Greater Scythia. Here the document describes their emigration through the Pillars of Hercules via the Tyrrhenian Sea, before eventually reaching Spain. Here they are described as settling for a period of time amongst what are called the most barbarous and savage of tribes, who were seemingly unable to subdue the strength of the Scots. Finally, the paragraph says that the Scots reached the British Isles some 1200 years after the Israelites crossed the Red Sea, where the Scots are described as driving out the Britons and destroying the Picts, holding onto and defending their country against various incursions, and boasting an unbroken lineage of 113 kings who had kept the land of the Scots free from all servitude. Quote, "Most Holy Father, we know, and from the chronicles and books of the ancients, we find that among other famous nations, our own, the Scots, has been graced with widespread renown. It journeyed from Greater Scythia by way of the Tyrrhenian Sea and the Pillars of Hercules, and dwelt for a long course of time in Spain amongst the most savage peoples, but nowhere could it be subdued by any people, however barbarous. Thence it came 1200 years after the people of Israel crossed the Red Sea to its home in the west, where it still lives today. The Britons it first drove out, the Picts it utterly destroyed, and even though very often assailed by the Norwegians, the Danes and the English, it took possession of that home with many victories and untold efforts, and, as the histories of old time bear witness, they have held it free of all servitude ever since. In their kingdom there have reigned 113 kings of their own royal stock, the line unbroken by a single foreigner." End quote. What's interesting about the story of the Scots' journey from Greater Scythia, which we find in the Declaration, is that it seems to echo the journey described in the Scotia myth, which is found in the Book of the Taking of Ireland, as well as the Historia Brittonum by Nennius, which we looked at in the previous episode. If you missed that episode, you can check it out here. This historic claim of lineage certainly seemed to be taken seriously enough in this political context, as the Pope's excommunication was subsequently rescinded, and thereafter the Pope would address Robert using his royal title. The intrigue certainly builds when one looks at the linguistic evidence for Scotia, as when we look at the LSJ, we do find the word Scotia is listed as an ancient Greek word meaning darkness or gloom, a word which, according to the entry, was actually used as an epithet of Aphrodite in Egypt. The connection of the Scots to a Greek word may seem completely in the realms of impossibility, but there are scholars out there who have made similar connections. The application of the term Scotty or Scot is purported to have been a name first given to Gaels in Ireland by the Romans, and the etymology of the term is still debated. However, Professor of Classics Dr. Philip Freeman has suggested the likelihood that it was a term used by raiders who first adopted the term from an Indo-European root, Scot, which he compares to the Greek term Skotos, which is the masculine version of the aforementioned term Scotia. So who was Scotia? Is the whole story a complete fabrication that was created to tie the Gaelic nation to a legendary eponymous ancestor? Or does the legend contain a kernel of truth? Let's now turn our attention to another area to see if there's any more evidence that we can assess. There is a statue found in A Coruña, a city in Galicia, northern Spain, which is named after Breogan, a descendant of Gaethil, the son of Scotia, who was said to have landed and founded the city there. Here the legend still seems to persist, and is a theme prominently mentioned in the Galician national anthem, which is called Os Pinos, or The Pines. Here the lyrics can be seen to reference Fogar de Breogan, or the homeland of Breogan. Quote, "What do the murmurers say on the verdant coast, under the transparent beam of the calm moonlight? What do the high treetops of dark bent foliage say in their harmonious, monotonous hum? Girded by your greenness and your benign stars, boundary of the green hill forts and worthy land, do not let into oblivion the harsh rancour of insult, awaken from your slumber, homeland of Breogan. The good and generous understand our voices, and eagerly they listen to our rough sounds, but only the ignorant and barbaric and cruel, imbecilic and dark don't understand us. The times are now upon us, of the bards of the ages, when all your wanderings shall achieve their end, for everywhere, gigantic, our voice proclaims the redemption of the good nation of Breogan." End quote. Additionally, Breogan also lends his name to Parc de Breogan in Madrid, and can also be found referenced in the name of the professional Spanish basketball team Club Baloncesto Breogan, who are based in the city of Lugo, the latter of which has been connected by some scholars to the pan-Celtic deity Lugus. Sites across Europe can be found named after this god, such as Lugdunum, which was a site located in modern-day Lyon, France, as well as Lugowallium, which was located in modern-day Carlisle, England. The name Lugus is said to be synonymous with that of Lugh Lawada in the Irish mythologies and Lle Llaw Gyffes in the Welsh. From a genetic standpoint, there was a study carried out by a team at Oxford University, headed by Professor of Human Genetics Dr. Brian Sykes, who spent 5 years taking DNA samples from over 10,000 volunteers in Britain and Ireland, in an effort to produce a map of genetic roots. The DNA analysis reveals the samples taken have an almost identical genetic fingerprint to the inhabitants of the coastal regions of Spain. Quote, "This is the quintessential Oisin Y chromosome, and huge numbers of Irish men carry it. I'm not the only one to have noticed this particular Y chromosome combination, as Dan Bradley certainly knows about it, and it has also been spotted by Jim Wilson, who worked for a time at University College, London. Jim is a native of the Orkney Islands, just off the north coast of Scotland, and he had noticed this same combination among his fellow Orcadians. It also cropped up interestingly in surveys of Y chromosomes among the Basques of northeastern Spain, and also among the people of Galicia in the northwest of Spain." End quote. So that's going to conclude today's episode. We're going to be looking at further information in the next. So what are your thoughts? Please do let me know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider checking out another. Thanks for the continued support, it's much appreciated. Old Boy out.